I'm ready to game it up.
But we're not gaming. We're just talking.
It's the same.
You don't nod on a podcast, Nick.
Hello, I'm good to go. I'm sorry.
Okay. Welcome back, everybody. It's, was it the 2nd of August already?
Yep.
2020?
2020.
Yeah.
This,
We do need to specify the year.
I need to specify the year. It's been a busy one. It's been very busy and not great.
Yeah, lots of things been going on.
So you probably know what's going on because you exist in the world, but something that did not happen to you has happened to me. My computer broke, and it was kind of the end of the video for a while. So I lost a couple of recordings that we had earlier, and we just haven't been able to get together and really podcast because we don't want to make each other sick, that sort of thing. And I'm still a little nervous, even though it's already August. Like, the summer part's over, but like it seems like the numbers are going up and things are only getting worse.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens with future videos.
Yeah, the plan is to come back to every other week because my computer like fixed itself. It was like, hey man, you haven't done anything on me for a while. Let's just go back to the way things were. So chances are every couple weeks we'll have a new video. As long as nothing happens like that again, which it seems like in the video happens a lot. Something goes wrong or we can't get together, what have you.
How many episodes could people go back to and find us saying, like, this is it?
Probably 4.
We're back at it.
Yeah, probably like 4.
Yeah, at the very least.
The last one was so good, though, because it's like, yes, and then we did, and then, bam, broken laptop, COVID.
Yeah, in our defense, even if the laptop hadn't broken, we recorded in person, and being in person quickly became unfavorable. So we would have had to stop or record it remotely, which is less than ideal.
I personally don't like recording over the internet unless you're a guest or something. That's just the way I see it, I guess. Like,
Being in the room with you guys and like seeing your face and hand gestures and like knowing when to interject in a conversation like helps so much.
that was like the perfect example because like you kind of moved and I looked over like, oh, Nick has something to say. He can chime in immediately. Not like me waiting 3 seconds to see if you're actually going to say a thing or if you just made a noise.
You get to do the thing where both of you start talking at
Yep.
the same time, and then you both have like this battle of willpower. Like, if I just keep talking, he'll give up, and I'll be the one that's talking.
Or we
first.
both go, oh, no, you go.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah,
No, you go ahead.
No, it's, yeah, that sort of thing. I love recording in person so
It's
much
so
more.
much better.
It's way better. So instead of going over all the games we've played in the last 6 or 7 months or whatever
In 2020.
in 2020, we're just kind of go over the big ones we played and like, I don't know, the stuff we're kind of playing now, just because it feels weird to go back and be like, oh yeah, I did play Dragon Ball Z Kakarot and I loved it. Like, that game came out in what, March?
Yeah.
Something like that.
When I was looking through the list, the one that jumped out at me was, since the last time we recorded, I had played Disco Elysium, which is a game that I tried to finish in time for the 2019 Game of the Year discussion and couldn't, since
Yeah.
it bled into January. But, you know, by this podcast standards, it would be a new, interesting game that I have played since we last recorded.
God, that's nuts.
It's a lot.
I'm glad to start again, though. I'm really, really excited.
Yeah.
So we'll start with Nick and just go around like this. What have you been doing since
Just like that.
COVID hit?
For video games or for life?
For everything.
For everything?
Maybe not everything. I do not want to be here for 4 hours recording today.
I guess I can do my life update too, because like my job is always easy to do remote. And so like my whole company just went remote one day and then it hasn't really impacted my day to day, so I've been quite lucky in that regard. And my company, like, we're not going back at all this year, they announced.
Yeah.
So it's just been kind of same old. Working a lot like working at home is kind of screwed with my hours though, because like some days I'll just work all day. Like I don't know how to stop. Some days.
That exact same thing
It's
happened
tough.
to me too.
Yep.
But otherwise, I haven't been playing as many games as you'd think I would. Like given how much extra time COVID has given people. But I think like the last time we recorded, I was in the middle of playing Death Stranding. And I ended up getting really into that. I really liked that game. It was really good.
Okay.
I almost platinumed it.
Yeah.
Some people don't like it. It's I feel like
Yeah.
it's a very taste thing. Like
Yeah.
I liked just like running around and exploring mountains and stuff. I thought that was really fun.
Yep. No, keep going.
Just
Just let me interrupt.
The advantage of recording in person is you can see
Yeah.
no one's smug face as
Yeah.
you talk about Death
Yeah.
Stranding.
And that game's kind of got a little bit more FaceTime because like the PC version just came out. So we'll see if more people maybe get around to playing it.
I still need to. I will. I will for you at some point.
Other than that, I played through the Outer Worlds. Yes,
Worlds, yes.
Worlds. Yes. And that was a fun little romp. I would say it wasn't like amazing, but it like scratched that Bethesda itch.
I really liked it
I really
because I've
enjoyed
never
it.
played a Fallout before, and the only like Elder Scrolls games I've ever played are Morrowind, which I did not enjoy, and then a little Skyrim VR, which was very, very good. So, never having played Fallout, I was like, oh, it's really good. But if you have any experience with Fallout, I think you're kind of like, oh, this is a scaled down Fallout.
Yeah, and I actually could have stood more of it.
I
Like
did
it
feel
kinda,
it was
kind of just kind of
a
ends
little short.
Yeah, that's kind of what I meant. Like it could have used a little more time to cook, like fleshed it out a little bit more.
But now there's a like expansion or DLC or whatever for it, so maybe that'll help flesh it out enough.
Can I interrupt with some very sad news?
Yeah.
RPG Limit Break 2020 has been canceled.
Like completely canceled.
They
They're
straight
not
up
even doing
canceled
it online.
it.
Dang.
Well, they said in the announcement, I just read it too. They're gonna do a different online event, or
Oh,
they're
okay.
looking at like an alternative online something.
Oh, okay.
So not the runners that submitted to Limit Break wouldn't be the same people doing the online marathon, but they'll probably still try to put something in that date range.
Yeah. That sucks.
Another victim of the pandemic. Womp womp.
All right, Nick, what else you got before, Sorry I interrupted you.
Not much. I was playing Elite Dangerous. Like I'd start getting into that, and so much so that I like ended up buying myself a joystick and like throttle thingy. So,
That's awesome.
because like the mouse and keyboard is fine, but then like you read forum posts and everyone's like, "Oh, you gotta have the thing." So I was like, "All right, I like this game enough. I'll try buying the thing."
Gotta have the thing.
It does help, and there have been there's been a few games that I feel like I'll play at some point. Like what's that other like space game that like had a crappy launch?
No Man's Sky.
Yeah, No Man's Sky. So like there's games like that I might pick up at some point, or I actually kind of wanted to get Ace Combat 7. I played 4 on the PS2 like a way
Yeah.
back a long time ago, and that
Yeah,
game was
yeah.
really fun.
Yep.
And like flight simulators aren't my normal cup of tea, but
I don't know if I'd call that a flight simulator. I think
well,
I'd call
it's
that
the closest thing.
a combat simulator.
Yeah. And so I'll hopefully get some more use out of that purchase, but other than that, I kind of like that game just because you can kind of make up your own gameplay
Narrative.
narrative. Yeah, like you just kind of do your own thing. There's no point to it.
Mm.
It's just kind of a grind. Like if there is a point, if you're like trying to get the best ships and like the best weapons, it's just just a grind, like killing things and mining things and getting more money.
So essentially, I could just be like, I want to be the best trader that this place has to offer. So I'm just gonna get all the trading shit and like
Yeah.
do all that. Or I can be like a combat dogfighter or something. What is there combat?
Yep. There's like, so the game, it's like an MMO. You can play in like the MMO servers, but you can also like take your same ship and play solo, where you're like in the same world, but none of the other players are there. So like if you want to do something dangerous, like if you want to say like be a miner, and you want to like load up your ship and not get destroyed by another player as you're going to deliver it, you can just go in solo mode and you'll do that safely.
Is it like a quick, just like a phase swap, or do you have to like go into a menu, quit out?
You like log out and log back in.
Okay.
So it's a little time, but like 5 minutes. So it's not a huge penalty. There is I think like a PvP mode, probably similar to like arenas, where it's just like other players, like other teams. I have never done that because I'm pretty bad.
I have seen you play Elite Dangerous a couple times, and I'm always like, that game looks kind of fun. Looks like Rebel Galaxy, but maybe a little more. Would you recommend it?
Yeah, especially if you see it on sale at some point.
Okay. How much did you pay for it? Was it 30?
Probably around 30.
Okay.
And they did just release a new expansion to where they you can build these. They're called fleet carriers, and they're basically just like mobile space stations. And so you can run your fleet carriers like economy and that sort of thing. And like you don't directly pilot them, you like set their course. It's actually been kind of nice because a lot of players will like set their fleet carriers next to like my asteroid field, so you can just like go to their carrier to sell all your crap instead of like flying all the way to another station. And the weird thing about fleet carriers is they're like persistent. So when you log off, your fleet carrier's still like there and doing its thing. They're even like there for people in solo play. It's like,
Cool.
they're just really expensive. They're a big money sink.
But
So-
can you said you can control the economy, so you could like charge whatever taxes on goods purchased, or like take a cut of stuff that materials people are selling, stuff like that.
Yep.
God, that's like interesting. Having
That
like
would
that
be.
thing moving around and like being of help, but you're also getting your cut.
I would want to run a fleet carrier in the high risk areas, like on the outskirts, and I charge a little more, but I'm the only one out
Get
there
that-
that lets you
that
safely bring these
convenience
materials
fee.
back, right?
Yeah.
That would be my job. Or I would run like recovery for people that are in sticky situations and
So-
pull them out of danger.
I was just thinking, there's a guild called the Fuel Rats that I was reading about, and they've been around like I think since like the game started or like early on, and they have like their own website, and what they do is they're like a humanitarian effort.
Yes.
If you're flying around anywhere, you can be like at the far edges of the galaxy, like tens of thousands of light years outside of like the zone where there's like stations and stuff, or you can just be in that like bubble of stations. And if you run out of fuel and can't get back, you go onto their website, be like help, and they dispatch people
That's
to come
so
save you.
good.
That's pretty good.
And
I like that.
they'll like contact you and give you directions of like how to survive for as long as you can, because your ship, even when you're not doing anything, will like drain a little fuel. And if it gets down too low, all your life support will cut off and you'll die.
Right.
And like that could be bad because like if you've been exploring, like out the edges, you'll lose a lot of money because like all of that like data that you collected will be lost.
Oh,
Oh, you
Or-
can't even like go salvage it or anything.
I don't think so.
Oh,
you can't do a corpse run?
yeah. I'd say no corpse runs.
And then like same thing with like if you had like cargo. That's
Yeah,
not.
just gone. Interesting.
So I thought that was like a cool little thing like that people did.
That is awesome. I would do that, and then I would run it, pay what you want, right? When they recover their stuff, give me whatever you think is fair for the services I provided.
Yeah, it is like a tipping like their like mantras like they don't charge. It's free. Like,
That's what I want to do.
That's like the thing you hear about in MMOs. That you're like, oh, that's really cool. but like a lot of MMOs are just kind of amusement park type deals, and that doesn't happen as much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they like, as their like guild, they like know who can do what and whose ships are capable of what. And so like if you're a newbie in their guild, they'll send you on the easier missions, or they might team you up because they don't just send one guy. They'll send like a team to make sure somebody can get there fastest. And because they have somebody who works as a dispatcher.
This is amazing. This is so good.
You have like the woman in the white coat and the headset, like
I was thinking
ready
David
to go.
DeVito.
It's like I think one of the things they have you do, like if you're really far out, they'll just have you log off so that you don't use up your fuel. And then once they get close, then you log back in so they can like
Oh, interesting.
team up with you. Because like anyone in your like squad will have their own beacon that you can fly to make that easier.
Yeah.
But yeah, Elite Dangerous. It's been fun. There's an upcoming update where they'll be adding planetary exploration on foot. Because right now you can land on like a planet that doesn't have any atmosphere. It's like a rocket, like a Mercury type, or a Venus or Mars. Well, I guess Mars has atmosphere, and then you have a little rover that you can like run around. But I guess the next update will have you just like running around. And it looks like there'll be guns and stuff because like all the screenshots show a
Gotta shoot
guy
those
carrying
rocks.
like a rifle. There are aliens that you can fight. And I've only run into them once, and they just obliterated me. But besides that, I've been working on 2 titles that came out fairly recently that I'm sure you guys are also playing, some of you. The Last of Us Part 2 and Ghosts of Tsushima.
I was waiting for Noah to finish Last of Us 2 so I could play it.
Pat's
Give it to
borrowing it right
Steve.
now. Pat was like, "I'm gonna borrow it from Steve," and Steve was
Yeah,
like
so
playing
it
it or
won't be
something.
back for months, so it'll be a while before I play that game.
I told him to bring it back soon because after Ghost, I might try to finish it.
Oh, you weren't even done with it.
No,
Oh.
I just understood that I'm playing Ghost of Tsushima, and I'm not gonna stop for a while.
Right. And I can't borrow that from you because you just downloaded it.
Hmm.
Unfortunate.
And then those, I don't know how far through I am with Part 2, but so far my impressions have been good.
Mm-hmm.
It like just feels like more of The Last of Us. But your shivs don't break. Ooh, yes. That's been the best part. And then for Ghosts, I just kind of got a little bit past the part where you're like let loose into the open world. So
Okay.
I'm not that far.
Baby steps.
Baby steps. I did the first mission for like your first thing you have to do is kind of like round up a team to help you. And I went and found you have to find like an old archer mastery guy. I found him.
His story is actually really cool.
I also freed a dojo. I ran across a dojo.
Ogawa Dojo or
Yeah, I just-
whatever. That was fun.
It's been a cool game.
I agree.
Looks like a cool game from what I've seen of the gameplay.
I'm actually really bad at it. Like I die all the time.
At some point, you're gonna not die ever. You're gonna get never dead. If you keep going to the question marks, you'll get big. You'll
Never
become a
dead?
big boy.
That game on the 360 back in like 2007?
Yeah.
All right. Heard it wasn't good. What else you got, Nick?
That's it for me.
Dan?
It's my turn. I've played considerably fewer games, or maybe about the same as Nick. They're just different. In early on in the year, I've bought a fair number of games that have come out this year, but a lot of them have been, remakes or ports or whatever. Like, I picked up Mega Man ZX or whatever, the 2DS ones that got re-released on Switch alongside the Zero collection.
Mhm.
So I've been meaning to get to that, but I just haven't. But I'm looking forward to playing those again. But I think I spent the most of this year playing Persona 5R, which had a lot of real nice like quality of life
Yeah.
changes and stuff. Noah saw a few of them as I was
Yeah.
kind of going through stuff, but the biggest one I think is probably the ability to just run over shadows if you're high enough level over them. And then they still give you XP, they still give you money, they give you everything, like even a like persona, until your thing's full and then they stop giving you personas. But I got to a point where I was overleveled enough that the next time I went into Mementos, I was already like all of the enemies were already weak enough that I could just run them over. So I spent just the normal amount of time in Mementos. They added like this little thing where you collect stickers and then you get stuff that make Mementos better, like more XP, more money, more items. And so I was just running over enemies as I was running around looking for these stickers, and then I gained 10 levels by the time I got out of Mementos. I'm like, oh,
All right.
okay. So it was very easy to hit max level.
That's really nice, though. I never understood why games stopped doing that ever since, like, Earthbound is the first game I ever remember seeing a mechanic in place where if you're strong enough, they just don't make you do the random encounter. And then,
yeah, like
people
Tales
stopped.
games, if you're strong enough, at least I think it's Tales, they'll just run away from you.
That's true, yeah.
Persona does that too, where they'll just run away from you, and you can still fight them if you want, but they'll be like, oh shit, that's really strong, I'm gonna run away, and then they just, squeal and run off. That was mostly 3, but oof, that was rough.
Yeah.
But overall, my impression of 5R is very good. The 2 new social links were very good. The extra dungeon was good. Like the theme music for it was really good. And it made it into more of just, hey, we're gonna go fight God. Like there's still God entities involved, but it's a little more like person driven, like, if that makes sense. Like the being behind the person or whatever behind the final dungeon makes you kind of like think about it a little more, other than just like, oh yeah, you're the bad guy. It's like, oh well, maybe things could be like that if so definitely worth a playthrough for sure, even if you've already played Persona 5. So
I have not. I'll play it at some point.
yeah. And then so yeah, high marks for that one. They also made it easier to max out like personas, and I don't remember if the incense were in the original game.
I don't think they were.
So when you lock up the persona to like let it learn an ability or whatever with the twins, you can give it an incense, which will just increase a stat by 1, 2, or 3, depending on how strong the essence is. So it becomes much easier to like max out a persona, stat wise. And they made it super easy to platinum too. Like there was no like complete the Persona compendium to platinum this game kind of thing, which is kind of nice. They kind of shifted it all into like this weird little like hangout place where you'd go and you could put up like statues of the bosses you killed and like view the cutscenes and listen to the music, and the characters would show up and look at the statues and stuff. So it was just kind of you would unlock most of that stuff through like in-game achievements, which is where they shifted that stuff of like collect all the personas or beat death or whatever.
So is that like the hideout?
Yeah.
Is that like the same place where you'd like meet the crew?
No, it's like a completely separate thing. It's on like, it's a save file on your system as opposed to attached to the game. So like if you load like a new game plus or whatever, it's not tied to that one game. It just is always the same as you unlock stuff. Because there's a couple things I think where you have to do new game plus to be able to actually complete, or easily missable kind of stuff. But just kind of a neat thing to do if you felt like spending a lot more time with the game. But I maxed out all the confidants too, which it seemed like that was also super easy. in this version, which is nice because they added 2 more, so had to make it a little easier at least.
Mm.
Everybody's persona's got another form. And it was like a weird conjunction of their first form and their second form just kind of mushed together. So some of them kind of reverted more back to like how they looked in their first personas, and some of them just turned into something completely different. Like there was the UFO and then the orb thing for Futaba. And then I don't remember. I think it became a pyramid, a flying pyramid for the last one. So then I also, moving on, picked up Xenoblade Definitive Edition, which again introduced a lot of like nice quality of life stuff. Like it has quest tracking and the little collectible things like actually show up on your map when they're for a quest at least. So you can like load a map and you see the exclamation point, so you just run over and grab it instead of wandering aimlessly through the place to maybe get the collectible.
Hoping that, is this gonna be the one I need? Is
Yeah.
this? Yeah.
Unfortunately, it doesn't work for the Colony 6 rebuilding,
Oh.
so you still have to randomly just run into the stuff for the Colony 6 stuff. And then, like the visual, like everybody got model updates, so there's no more potato faces. The dialogue is the same, as far as I can tell. Like the voice acting and stuff, I don't think they redid anything. The future connected episode, or whatever you want to call it, after you beat the game, does have new voice acting, of course, for Shulk and Bird Lady.
Melia?
Yeah, Melia. And her voice is noticeably deeper for the cutscenes, but then you go back to the battles and it's just the regular voice from the game.
Mm-hmm.
It takes place 1 year after the end of the game, so they grew up, I guess. But almost done with that. It's been fun, like little like adventure, like at the end of the game. It's Melia and Shulk and Ricky's two of Ricky's kids, and they have moves. They were trained by Ryan and Charla, so they have moves that are all the same as Ryan and Charla's, but they have different names.
Mm.
Like instead of Mad Taunt, she has Glad Taunt. And so Wild Down, she has Mild Down.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, they're pretty good. Like all the little like side viewing like story stuff is pretty good too. The chatter between the characters and stuff. So, pretty good definitive edition. Highly recommend. But yeah, that's about all I've played. Even on my 2 weeks of vacation that I had, I got almost very little video gaming done just because of all the other stuff I was doing.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it was the same for me. So I'm not going to go over every game I played in the last 8 months, but
Yeah.
Touching on the more recent stuff. So yeah, obviously the whole world basically shut down, and actually for the first like part of the year, I wasn't playing a ton of different games because work was really stressful, really busy for me. So I was working way more hours than I should, doing like 60, 70-hour work days. And then when I would get done, I would be like too stressed or too tired, and I would end up just playing Hearthstone or some other comfort food game. I downloaded this app on my phone that's like connect the dot line puzzles, and every time you like connect 2 dots with a line, it makes a nice water drop sound. It's a very relaxing app.
Is it flow free?
I think so.
Are they like the primary colors?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I've
It's
also
a very
played that
very
before, yeah.
zen game.
Mhm.
If you just need to like not think but at all and unwind. But more recently, I also played Last of Us Part 2. I'm not quite done with it yet, but I'm getting, I think, pretty close based on some trophies I've gotten, which are like sort of like in any game, you know, like use every weapon or acquire every upgrade, those types of trophies. I have started to unlock some of those, which implies to me I'm running out of game within which to have upgrades. I like it a lot. I think it is from the perspective of environmental design, like the build of the environments, I think it is the best looking game to date. Like there's no other game that I've played where the environments feel as densely packed and as pretty at the same time. Like you might find games that are more visually striking at certain spots, but just like consistently place to place to place, Naughty Dog builds environments they feel very realistic and very lived in. And there are so many of them. Like the game is long, and I never feel like I'm seeing reused assets or anything. It's just like, whew. But I would not spoil anything for anybody, but I am far enough in the game where I feel like I understand where some people end up having mixed opinions, and like the story has taken a couple of twists at this point, or a couple of key story events have occurred, so starting to get a feel for what they are going for the whole game, but I still have a little bit that I need to do to wrap it up. It's been taking a long time because Leah's watching me play it, and so we have to find a time where we both are in the mood to like get stressed out and play the game. And then we only play as long as both of us are in the mood to stay stressed out while we play. So it's usually like
a while to finish then.
Yeah, 1 or 2 times a week we'll find, 1 or 2 hours here and there to play it. And since it's a long game, we have been going on it for a while. But I like it a lot. I think it's very good. More recently, I've also been playing Paper Mario, the Origami King.
It does look like a good game.
It is a good game. I think if you set aside your desire or expectations for Paper Mario to be an RPG, it is a good game. It is not like the original or Thousand Year Door. And honestly, it's not even really like Super Paper Mario. It's just kind of its own thing. Maybe it's like Color Splash or Sticker Star. I haven't played either of those.
Nah, not like Sticker Star that I can tell.
Like, it has combat, but the combat almost doesn't even matter because the only thing you get from combat is coins, and I always have way more coins than I ever need for anything. And the main function of coins is to use in battle to help you in battle. So it's like, do you need to grind to get coins to then in other battles use coins, or just skip battles and be fine? But it has a really good sense of humor. It's very pretty. Like, it has that clean Nintendo polish to it. And I've been enjoying it. The world has been down on Origami King, and I don't think that they should be.
I've heard nothing about it other than the writing is probably the funniest Nintendo's had in a long time.
It's very sharp. It's very good. And I want people to give it a shot. I think that really, in reality, people have been down on it because it's not an RPG, and they want Paper Mario to be an RPG again. And I get that, because I want that too. I like Thousand Year Door, but I think this game is good for what it is. Anyone that hasn't seen it, the battle mechanic is you are in the center of this like 3-ring target, basically, that's split into sections, and before every turn, you can like turn the inner, middle, or outer ring of this battle arena to basically reposition the enemies, and ultimately you're trying to get them either into a straight line or into a 2x2 box, so that you can use either your boots to jump on them or your hammer to hit like an area of them. And so every battle is like a little mini puzzle, and I think that's a cool idea. It takes a while for the game to start like challenging you with puzzles. Like for a while the game is like, oh, here's an enemy, a blank spot, and then 2 enemies, and then in that ring where the blank spot is, there's a 4th enemy that is 1 spot away, and you just tilt that ring once and suddenly you've made a line. But later on they start doing things that are more challenging, and especially the best parts of the boss fight are the boss fights, because they flip around the battles and you aren't in the middle, the bosses are in the middle, and all on those rings there's tons of different icons. So there'll be icons for arrows that control the direction you walk. There'll be icons for attacks, icons for magic spells. There'll be like, healing items, coins, all kinds of stuff. And so you have like a minute or so to use your turns to turn these rings into like the most optimal path where you'll then follow the arrows and walk around and end up attacking the boss with whatever attack you need to. And those are the most fun. That's when like the puzzly battle system is at its best. So I'm probably halfway through that game, and I'll keep going with it. It's been pretty fun. And it's like that's kind of all you have for Nintendo games right now. So if you're not into it, maybe pick it up anyways. What else have I been playing more recently? So as with everybody, we are all largely trapped in our homes, and so when In the Groove wasn't appealing, I also wanted to get some more exercise, and so I picked up Ring Fit Adventure. So I've been doing some of that. I was very sore after the first day that I did Ring Fit, but it's been pretty fun.
I hear it's a legitimate workout.
It is. I mean, you're doing yoga poses, you're doing squats, you're doing overhead presses, all kinds of stuff. And people always say that a lot of the best workouts are just you using your own body weight against yourself. So if you want to work out, that's a way to trick your brain into getting one by playing a video game, which has kind of worked for me. And they have a rhythm game mode, so I've been playing that.
Oh, really? Oh, boy.
Yeah, you have to tilt the ring or squeeze and pull it in time with music. And they use tracks from the game, but they also use tracks from other Nintendo games. So they have what's that song? The Mario Odyssey song that you hear everywhere. The jump up in the air, jump up, don't be scared. That one.
Don't get us in trouble.
You don't want to copyright claim. Yeah, so that's been good for a workout, and it was sold out everywhere for a really long time.
Yeah.
And finally was able to track it down. It seems like now they're finally going back in stock. So I paid the $80 that it costs, not the $250 that it was selling for.
In general, Switches were out
Yeah.
during most of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when I would peruse Target, when I would go, they'd be out every time.
Yeah, my roommate, he works at Target, and he during that first couple of weeks, he was I get berated every day because we're not sold out of Switches.
I mean, it would be a whole separate conversation for a different podcast than this one, but all games shot up in price during the pandemic. The value of any secondhand game that you would pick up on eBay doubled in a lot of cases, especially PlayStation, GameCube, PS2, stuff that young 20-year-olds are nostalgic for because they were all stuck inside and wanted to go back and play Devil May Cry 3 or play, I don't know, Tales of Symphonia.
Roblox.
Mm-hmm. The other big 2020 release that I played that is worth mentioning is Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Oh, yeah. I played that too. I didn't even think about it.
Which is really good, and I have to eat a little bit of crow because I think in previous videos before this game had come out, I had been kind of
yeah, you were poo-pooing it.
We'll see how it is. I was so skeptical going in because how are you going to capture the feel of being 15 again in a game?
Oh, they did it.
And they did a really good job. That I was consistently impressed with Remake. They did some cool stuff with the story that, again, I won't spoil for anybody, but it makes me very interested to see what Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 is going to look like.
Yeah, definitely.
And all of the remixed music was just so good.
Yeah.
In fact, Leah got us tickets to see in concert orchestrated Final Fantasy VII Remake music, and then that got pushed back to 2021 because the world lit on fire. So
Yeah.
at some point I'll get to go see the Distant World's equivalent of that music, but not quite yet. But yeah, I mean, this is the world's worst and most obvious recommendation, but you should play Final Fantasy VII Remake if you haven't played it because it's very good.
That's coming from a skeptic.
It is coming from a skeptic. It's a huge fan of the original game, but it's not my favorite Final Fantasy of all time, and I was really not that pumped on this at all.
When I was hearing they were getting influenced from 15 a little bit, that was when I was like, ooh.
Well, I think what happened
they
was
ended
they
up-
were, and then the way 15 happened, they like pulled it out of that studio, and that's why it took longer, is because they just started over with a bunch of the stuff. I remember reading some about that, and then they did a real good job. I was really impressed overall with the game.
Another really pretty game.
Yeah.
To me, it kind of felt like they took some of the like environmental detail and some of the feel of 13, and then some of the combat elements from 15, and they sort of married them together in Final Fantasy VII's world.
Yeah, I read an article where they said that like the combat actually probably took more from 13 because 13 had that stagger system.
Yeah,
Yep. It felt like a marrying of those two, I think.
but kind of the best of both,
Yeah.
and smushed them together to make that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I personally too liked how different each of the characters felt
Yes.
when you switched between the three of them that you had.
Yeah, they were all very fully fleshed out. And
Yeah,
I thought I would end up just playing the whole game as Cloud, but no,
I
I
played-
swapped between them all the time.
I played a good chunk of it as Cloud, and then the rest of it as Tifa. I didn't use Barrett that much.
I used Barrett a lot, actually.
His playstyle did not jive with me, I guess.
Oh, I used him because I could just stand in the back and heal
Do
people.
nothing. Yeah.
I gave him
He
Right.
did get all the healing stuff for me, but
Mhm.
I'm like, hey Barrett, do a heal. And it took me a number of hours before I actually like clicked with the combat too.
But once you get it, it's very good. It's
Yeah.
actually kind of hard at some points.
I only wiped like twice in the whole game, and one of them was on like the most random pack of enemies too, because I was like, do, let me just walk right in here because it's just regular enemies, right? And it was like 2 flame turrets and like flamethrower guys, and then like Cloud just exploded. I'm like, oh.
It can happen fast.
And then I was playing catch up and I just died, so I was like, well, let me just start over.
And it's never too bad to restart. So
Yeah, because it like loads you right before you go into combat, which is just kind of nice. It takes some of the stress out of like, oh, I don't want to wipe on this boss or this, whatever you're dealing with. And there were definitely a few bosses where I was just like, oh, this boss is gonna be rough, and it was a total pushover. And then other bosses was like, this will be easy, and then oh god, this is not easy.
if you can figure out how to stagger them, it's usually not that bad.
And that was the hard part on some of them. Like I remember Tyler, who never finished the game. He
Ex Bideo cast member.
Yeah, ex-Bideo cast member. He texted me one night and he's like, I can't beat this stupid boss. And I'm like, oh yeah, just do this. And he's like, oh okay, thanks. And then he never went back to do it.
You got distracted.
So then he stopped at the arena part, if you remember that particular boss
I do.
being somewhat challenging.
Scott, my roommate, he played that, and he got real salty after Hell House.
That's
the
literally the
boss?
boss I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
And then it was one of the final bosses. It might have been the final boss.
It was probably the final boss. That one was kind of annoying, but I beat him without trying to.
Yeah, he like screwed something up probably that was like simple, and then he like didn't play for a while, and then he like beat it first try when he came back. So it was like,
Yeah, that one's almost like a puzzle boss, but
Yeah.
I can't describe it without spoiling it. So,
Right.
but yeah, that was a very fun game.
Yeah, highly recommend if anyone is like on the edge. I wasn't say I was as like wary about it as Steve, but
Yeah.
I'm also like in the boat of, Final Fantasy VII, kind of whatever. I don't care. I'm more of a Final Fantasy VIII guy anyway. But like, I was like, I'll get it because it's looking good, and I played the demo and I thought it was good. There were some flaws in the demo, but they weren't there in the production, so they fixed whatever
Yeah.
I felt was off about the demo, and then I just was so impressed with it. So yeah, 2 thumbs up from this guy.
Agreed.
I will be interested to see how they do the rest of the delivery. Just the rest
Yeah,
of the
I
game.
want to see. After the way that game ended, I'm just like,
Yeah.
okay,
the next
how are
one,
they
the
gonna?
next one is going to be something.
Yeah,
Well, and what's his name? Was it Nomura? Was kind of saying that he didn't necessarily want to bundle the game in such big chunks. He was almost seeming like he wanted
Oh,
to
God.
release it in smaller chunks so they could get him out faster.
yeah,
or
I
something.
suppose.
how.
That could work or it couldn't work. I mean, I don't know how they'll dice it up after that. Like the way the game like it opens, just the original game, it opens after you leave Midgar. It's like, where are they gonna cut them off, right? Like where are the cutoff points? Like Nibelheim maybe is a good one, but I don't know if that. I don't remember how far in that gets,
Yeah.
or how far away that is.
We'll have to see. Have to see how it goes.
Yep. Won't
But-
know until it happens.
The final thing I'll say is that there's a reason that they put the director of Kingdom Hearts on this game. But other than that, I mean, that's all the modern stuff I've been playing. The last thing that I'll mention is not a game, but in the last couple months, I started streaming a lot on Twitch. So I've played a lot of games on my Twitch channel, like Dark Cloud. I'm playing through Wander Song.
Wander Song's a cute game.
Wander Song is a really cute game. And that's been a lot of fun. I actually want to give a shout out to another podcast, the Otaku Bros podcast, Rusty and Ryan. The community from their podcast has been really cool and come hang out during the streams and chat. So there's always a lot of people hanging out and enjoying the different games. And they hop between the different streams and different people that are streaming. So it's been a lot of fun.
You can call them friends of the show.
Did you plug yourself?
They are friends of the show. No, but you can hop on over to the Twitch page, twitch.tv/blinkOom, BLINKOOM. Come hang out. I stream now Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays.
Can't even wait till the end of the podcast where we do our shout-outs. No, I'm Steve. I got to do it now.
In my defense, Nick shouted me
He
out.
prompted it.
It's
Yeah.
true.
Stick around to the end for another shout out. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun streaming on Twitch. As like when the world kind of shut down and my work became work from home, which it sounds like now is going to be permanently work from home. I think they just moved my position remote. It might switch again next year, but probably not. And I had some time
Mine is, too.
off. I wanted to move my computer desk out from like the living room it was in, which was really uncomfortable. So I moved it into the game room because it just has better vibes. And then it just felt so natural and appropriate to stream on Twitch. And it's like a good opportunity to force myself to play some games that I've been meaning to play and hang out with a lot of cool people. Friends of the show, as a one Noah would say. So yeah, lots of cool stuff over on Twitch.
Yeah.
What have you been up to, Nornsey?
So there's a lot of stuff I could say. But
Let's
I'm
hear it
gonna,
all.
I'm going to keep it PG. I started working again last month, somewhere in the middle, like the 13th or something.
I mean,
and-
the people didn't even know that you stopped.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But like, I assume a lot of people, like, at least, work from home or got furloughed or whatever. So I got sent home in March, and they just kind of kept paying me up until July, and then they're like, we can't pay you for nothing. So now they send me to the university to do nothing and possibly get COVID. Like, that's all I see it as. Like, I go in, they're like, okay, you need to wash these doors. You have 8 hours, and it's like 2 doors, and you can't even get to the back of one of them because it's locked or something. And you're like, all right, I guess I'll sit on this couch and spin Pokestops for an hour or two, and then maybe wash half a door. And I don't like what they're doing. They should have just kept us home, like kept me safe. I am not helping. I am not feeling helpful. I'm not feeling useful. It is very frustrating to go somewhere and know that you're essentially worthless. Like, I'm going in and I'm essentially just cleaning up after myself from the previous day of sitting on that couch. So that's a lot of fun.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, it sounds
Yeah,
great.
it's really, really cool. I don't know when I'm going back to food service. I read something about, like, a lot of the classes are going to be online, so I don't know if they're going to keep me in my same residential hall or if I'm going to have to move res halls or if they're going to put me in, like, a stadium or something. Yeah, the world is really uncertain, and I don't like it. To my knowledge, I'm going to continue to have a job, and that shouldn't be an issue. But I'm nervous. I want to know. I met a gal in February. Her name is Dana, and we're still together. So there's
It's true.
that too.
I've witnessed it.
Yeah,
Me too.
She exists.
she's real. She's really, really real.
She's delightful.
Yeah, she's pretty cool. I just want to give her a little shout out.
Can't even wait till the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't need to. I'm not plugging myself here. I don't know. Life has just been kind of garbage for a lot of people. Like, COVID has not been fun for anyone, really. Even when I did have that time off, they're like, make sure you keep your phone on and make sure you pick up and like answer any calls, because otherwise you might not get brought back. And I'm actually seeing that in my job. Like, some people just did not ever call back, and they are just fired. They're just cut for not coming back to work. So yeah, there's that.
It has been weird, like back to what Nick said. Even though you'd think that we're a gaming podcast and we've been forced to stay inside constantly, we should have played a ton of games. It's like the weird state of the world, and then working from home turning you into this like weird person that doesn't know when or how to stop working. You just kind of like nebulously roll through your day working a little bit all the time. Like, all of those different factors add up to surprisingly playing not as much games as you might think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I spend a lot of my time, as Noah's probably seen, at my computer. Either on Grand Blue, watching a stream, but also I'm logged into my work computer and doing something like passively, like patching servers or like uploading data for a client, or just doing something at night. And I'm not supposed to do that, but I do it anyway because I'm like, I can't get this stuff done during the day, and it's annoying to schedule some of that stuff with clients. I'm just like, I'll just do it when nobody's on the server, and I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I've been kind of lucky because like I don't have a lot of meetings or anything during the day, and so like
I don't either.
I can kind of do stuff at my own pace, but then that's another problem where like I don't really set a pace for, like, I don't have any set schedule for myself, so I just kind of like do stuff.
Yeah, as long as I get everything done, they're happy. So I'm like, I at least don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of have that same like, well, today I'm gonna sit here with my Switch. I'm gonna play Xenoblade like in between calls or whatever else I'm doing, waiting for data to upload, or I guess I'll actually kind of work a little harder today, or that kind of stuff. But
Yeah, we feel
Yeah. It just sucked to like be home and think like, oh, I could play games all the time, but then also be like really nervous about picking up my phone and like getting really depressed and like trying to go outside and then being like, I'm just depressed outside now. Like, it still sucks. I can't go anywhere or do anything.
he knocked over our bench.
I did in Rage.
He's in Rage. Yeah. That thing's heavy, by the way.
It's very heavy. I'm glad we put it back together.
Yeah.
But yeah, COVID has sucked. There's just been so much garbage this year.
I've done my best to spin it to try to be more positive about it. I've lost 10 pounds while being at home.
Good job.
Did you give yours to me?
Maybe.
I've definitely put on some COVID pounds.
Them DoorDashes.
I've tried
telling you.
very hard to not do that. In fact, I spent a good amount of my time learning how to cook, like different dishes, than just like, I'm gonna slap some hot dogs in the microwave, or put a pizza in the oven. Let me learn how to make eggs so that they're not just always scrambled eggs. So I've been getting pretty good at that.
I started strong during early days of quarantine. I cooked a lot.
Mm-hmm.
These days, I just DoorDash.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I have DoorDashed a fair amount here and there. Mostly if I'm like working and doing that thing where you just like keep working, and then it's 2 in the afternoon and you're like, ah, crap, I need to eat lunch.
But I have to keep working.
Yeah, but I have to keep working. So then I like dash something and I'm like, oh my god, that was $20 for a burger or whatever. I'm like, or however much it is, with the extra fee and the delivery fee and the service fee and the tip and all that kind of stuff. I'm like,
I broke down and signed up for the thing.
The
thing.
Yeah. How much is that again? Like 15 a month?
I was like 10.
I think it's 10.
Is it 10? And then it gets you what, like free deliveries or something?
Yeah, I think
Or
it's
cheaper.
Is it free delivery or just no fees?
No
Like,
delivery fee.
yeah.
So
Okay.
they'll cut like that
I suppose if you
$6.99 or
order
whatever.
more than twice a month, then it's worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it pays for itself pretty fast. And they got me because I was like, I might as well do the trial. And then I
Oh.
was just never
That's
undid.
how they got me.
So I gotcha. It
Um,
might be worth it then if I continue to do that, but I've been trying really hard to not do that. So
Yeah. It has been nice, like, trying new places, though, that I, like, probably wouldn't normally go.
yeah,
So-
I mean we've found a few places around
Yeah.
here. Shout out to Piata.
this podcast is unofficially sponsored by DoorDash and Piata.
Yeah, that kind of.
Maybe pay us. I don't know. But yes, I have also played some games. I played Dragon Ball Z Kakarot a long time ago, and I said, let's not talk about games if we don't have a lot to talk about them. But I remember that game being a strong contender for Game of the Year, for me personally, and it's probably still way up there. But I honestly can't remember anything about it other than it was really good and faithful to the anime.
So maybe not then.
Um,
It didn't stick with you.
no, I'm just very forgetful.
That's fair.
So I just remember it being good. I kind of want to go back and play the DLC, maybe get like the pass or something. I've also played The Last of Us 2, and before we started the podcast, I was talking about I just lent it out to somebody when their roommate brought me my Elgato back.
Oh, I thought Steve was gonna play it. That's why he took
No,
it.
Steve had it,
Oh, that's
and
right,
then
Steve
Pat
had
couldn't
it.
borrow Steve's copy. Different Steve.
Steve Tim.
Yeah, you're not the only Steve. In fact, you're one of like 5 Steves I know.
The listeners don't know who you're talking about.
That's true.
He knows who he is.
Yeah, I know who I'm talking about. So yeah, they borrowed it. I picked up Ghost of Tsushima, and I just prefer it in almost every aspect over Last of Us 2.
I intend to play both of them, but it might not be for a while because I just have other stuff I want to get through.
Yeah,
Did you beat Last of Us?
No.
Okay, so you just, like...
I beat
like,
Last of Us 1. Number 2, I'm probably near the end of day 2, if that says anything.
Okay. Yeah, I think I just started day 3, so, like, I'm just probably barely ahead.
Okay. I don't know how to say this without sounding like really negative. Like the game is really good, but I kind of want to just like bring up my personal complaints with it of the pacing seems really weird in the first couple of days. I feel like there's a lot of time not actually playing the game and then a little bit of time playing the game and then a bunch of not a lot of time playing the game, which I think is what they're kind of going for, a more cinematic, more cutscene oriented experience.
Oh, so it's another movie game like Xenosaga.
I'm not sure.
That's not fair to
I know.
say.
The beginning, it's just been really rough because like I'll play it and then I'll get bored, and then I'll be like, I'll just play this tomorrow when I'm more in the mood, and then I'll go back and I'll be like, okay, I'm playing this for like an hour, and then I'm like, I don't feel like playing this anymore.
It starts, and you don't do a lot of like stealth for a few hours, but maybe right around where you are, it falls into a rhythm of you. Like honestly, sometimes there's some pretty long stealth / combat sections in that game.
There's one I did right before a truck scene. That was like forever of fighting, and I accidentally was like, I have 2 bullets, I'm gonna run, and then I run and then triggered a checkpoint, and people were like, there she is, get her, and I'm like, shit, no. And it would always start with, there she is, get her. So it took me like 15 tries of like, run over here, use my 2 bullets on these 2 people, and then wait for this other person to come around and kill them. And it was complicated, but yeah. I don't know. I'm having a hard time playing that game, and it's not like that it's an emotionally difficult game. It just doesn't. It's just not getting me. It's just not grabbing me. I don't know what the deal is. Another. And like, remember, I'm saying this, but I'm not saying the game is bad. I'm just saying this is the stuff I personally am having issues with. It feels like some of the stuff, some of the difficult scenes or whatever, and some of the story is just kind of not great.
Really?
I talked to you and Leah about the one thing that was happening. I'm like, oh, by the way, this character has this going on now, and I don't know. It doesn't feel impactful to me, but then it's apparently important to Ellie. But
So it sounds like you're not connecting with the characters very much.
yeah, that can be it.
Yeah, I think so.
There was another issue I had with that where, first off, I hated that character. Not as a character, but like as an assistant in AI, where I sent you that text that one night where I'm like, dude, why does this character keep doing this? It's just in my way. But there have been inconsistencies kind of around the way those two characters interact. And I want to talk to you about them, not on a podcast.
I would be happy to.
Yeah. So there's that. And then on the other hand, it's very interesting because like I'll listen to the Bombcast or Beastcast, especially since I have so much time now. And they'll be like, oh, we love The Last of Us 2, this and this and this. It gets better, it gets great. And then like, oh, the ending makes you love it or whatever. Or not, I guess. And then they spent like the last week or two just dogging on Ghost of Tsushima. Even though I'm finding that game to be the best game of this year, quite possibly. There's something that's really clicking with me about that game, and I'm avoiding as much stealth as I can, even though you know how dishonorable I am.
You are not an honorable samurai.
I haven't embraced it, but like when I get slip-ups like that again, I'm like, it's too late anyway. I'm dishonorable as is. Like my uncle isn't gonna hate me more. So Ghost of Tsushima, in case you have no idea what it is, it's sort of like a third-person action game, open world, centered around like what is it? The invasion of the Mongols into the island of Tsushima, and it's like a glorified samurai movie type of game, and I'm finding the combat to be really satisfying. Like, it's never, I shouldn't say never. In the beginning, it's kind of hard, but then after a bit, you kind of unlock more things to make it super not hard at all. So, without spoiling too much, you've probably seen the menu already with the stances, and it does like each stance is good against a certain thing. So, like when you're fighting and doing your combos, you can switch into stances to like do better against enemies. And I'm enjoying like in the middle of killing a guy, switching my stance over and then starting a combo on another guy. That always feels really good.
Then? So it's pretty fluid then?
Yeah, it's very fluid.
Like The Witcher 1 had like almost a similar thing where there was like a balanced stance and like a quick stance
and like a heavy or whatever
stance,
yeah,
depending on what you were fighting.
Yes, it's kind of like that. Yeah. You can beat those things without those stances, but they help very much, and it's obvious when you're using those stances that they are very helpful to fighting those.
It was pretty noticeable when I was watching you fight the enemies that were weak to those stances. Yeah. How much of a difference it made.
Yes.
And like you just crushed them.
Yeah.
As soon as you switch stances.
So like you have a heavy attack and a light attack, and two heavy attacks with the right stance will stagger the enemy, and then you can just kind of finish them off. But if you don't have the right stance, it takes like a bit longer, and the animations of the stance don't match up with like what the enemy has. So like there's a wind stance, and it's good against spearmen, and spearmen like to keep at range, so like your main triangle does a spin that catches you up to damage them, even though they're like backing up and trying to keep range. So like it's very helpful in that regard, not just like a numbers thing where like, oh, it depletes his stagger meter faster. And I'm enjoying like running around and finding all the little secret items and such. I know there's a lot of complaints that like it all, it's just a bunch of the same thing over and over again. But honestly, the things you find are like, there's one that's like a jump puzzle. So you're doing jump puzzles to find Shinto shrines, or you're following a fox. And a lot of people like dog on the fox, but it only takes like 10 seconds to follow him and then pray at the shrine. And you always get like a neat little scenery, like as you're jumping across, rocks in a river or whatever, or fitting between these rocks to this little grove that has the fox shrine. And then you get to pet the fox at the end, which is very nice. So I don't see as much of the gripe there because like the problems with it aren't egregious enough for me to be upset with, I guess. Like, oh yeah, another fox shrine. It's like 10 seconds, man, and then you get your thing and you're done. Or you can write haikus based on things in like the scenery. You like sit down and you like look up, and it'll be like, oh, windy trees, or like solid defensive earth or something, and then you get a headband at the end, and it says like, we'll say death headband because there's one of those, and you'll have it, and underneath it will be the haiku you wrote out based on the things you picked, which I think is really cool. Yeah, I'm just really digging it. I'm at the end of Act 1. I'm about to start Act 2. And I still want to just keep going and finding these things people are finding tedious. Like, I'm enjoying it a lot. And I don't know, maybe it's just because that's the game I'm in the mood for. But it just feels like it hits all the right spots correctly for me. Like, especially the combat where it's like kind of deliberate, but it's very lenient. It's not like a Sekiro where if you screw up, like 3/4 of your life is gone. But you can't just mash. You do have to switch stances and hit triangle and know when to stagger and how to take care of certain enemies. And then when you're killed, you're not punished by starting all the way at a bonfire. You're kind of put outside that activity and you have to restart it, which is very nice. It's one of the things I'm not liking about Souls games lately. Is I don't have the time to be punished like that, man. I really don't.
You're coming in with a bold stance here.
Yeah.
You're coming in and saying, hey, all you normies, Last of Us bad, Dark Souls bad. Only my Ghost of Tsushima.
I was going to say, it almost seems like the negativity towards Ghosts comes from the people who wanted it to be another Souls game.
Yeah,
because that's what they saw in the gameplay. They're like, oh, this is going to be a new Souls game. But it's not.
Yep.
And it wasn't meant to be.
I was getting nervous when people are like, oh, the new Souls game is coming out, or the Samurai Souls game. And I'm like, oh, no, it's not actually a Souls game, is it? And then I played it, and I'm like, yes, it's not too difficult. It's a little easy, but it's not too difficult.
It's so funny. Not like that this is a bad thing, but you were worried it would be a Souls game, and it turns out it's like an Assassin's Creed game, and you're like, oh, thank God, it's like a game that I want.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
That was a game, another one that wasn't on my radar at all, and I was gonna, like, it was on my radar, I knew about it, but I didn't really have any plans to play it until it was $15, and I can get it in a buy two, get one. But now I'm going to have to buy it and play it before the end of the year so we can argue about what's better, Ghost of Tsushima or Last of Us.
It's so good.
Last of Us is so good.
I'll have to do the same
thing. What did Sucker Punch make before? Like, what are some of their other titles?
Sucker Punch makes... What is it, Infamous?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. That jives then.
I also love the Infamous games.
Maybe you're just a fan
I liked
of
what I
Sucker
played
Punch.
of the first one, but I didn't get very far in it. And I didn't play any of the other Infamous games.
I've also only ever played the first one, part of it.
Yeah.
The only game that Sucker Punch made that they should be remaking is Sly Cooper.
I mean, they've already remade like all of the other like PS1 platformer kind of games, right?
Yeah, it's
That's
destined
just
to happen.
next on the list.
That'll be PS5.
Yeah, PS5.
Be still, my beating heart.
I'm
Just more platform.
I'm still thinking about buying the Medieval remake.
I almost bought it the other day.
I guess in other news, I stopped playing Apex for the most part.
Yeah, I haven't
Yeah.
heard him walk in and say, "Okay, it's time for PEX."
Yeah, there's been no
Like-
PAX.
In months, now that I think about it.
Are you still friends with Joe Wade?
A little bit. It's now I work in the morning, so
Yeah,
I'm
he can't
almost
stay
in
up.
bed, but like when he gets home.
Okay.
You're like in my shoes
Yeah.
right now, where I was. You guys are always like, "All right, it's time to play games," and I'd play one match with you, and then I'm like, "See you guys, I'm going to
10:30,
bed."
11. Yeah.
Yep.
And now I have to wake up at 5 in the morning or 6 in the morning and
Yeah.
ride a bus for an hour and a half.
Yeah, I've seen Ben and a few others playing Heroes of the Storm now.
They're
I
playing
think. Yeah,
HOTS
I've seen
now.
them talking in that chat you guys have that I never talk in because I always forget to look at it.
That's pretty much what they're doing, which is whatever.
I've been kind of itching to play like Heroes of the Storm or like Dota or something again, but nobody has been playing it, so I'm not excited to play it by myself.
I
wanna
have
play it
no
with somebody
interest. I get very upset when I play those games. I'm just gonna not.
else. Yeah, they're not for everyone.
All right. You guys want to talk about the conferences and such?
Yes.
Yeah, SMT5 trailer release trailer after 3.5 years in a mini direct or whatever that was, like just out of nowhere. It's like, okay, I still don't know if I'm gonna buy it because I bought SMT4, played it for a number of hours, and did not get very far, and was not frustrated with the gameplay, but I've never quite gotten into the gameplay of those types of games as many times as I've tried. Like the first-person dungeon crawler, like combat kind of stuff was just like never my thing. Like Etrian Odyssey or whatever.
I like Etrian Odyssey 3 a lot, and I played a decent amount of Etrian Odyssey Millennium Girl. Really good music in the Etrian Odyssey games.
The games always have really cool music and stuff, but it's just been like, I don't know, they never quite click with me. So I'll probably end up buying SMT5 and trying anyway, just because it looks really good. Like,
yeah.
But they also announced the Nocturne remaster or whatever, which I own Nocturne, the PS2 copy, but I have not played it. I also own Digital Devil Saga 1 and 2 and Devil Summoner or whatever, all of those PS2 era SMT games. I haven't touched a single one of them.
So
I've always like wanted to buy them for like no reason. Like for some reason they just seemed like something I would want.
Yeah.
funny side tangent about Nocturne in particular. For a while, especially during the PS2 era, I was in the habit of when I stopped playing a game, if I felt like I wouldn't go back to it, I would write
Sell
a
it.
note
Oh.
to myself what I was doing, and I would put it in the game case. And to this day, I still have the note in my Nocturne game case because I haven't gone back 15 years later. And there's I don't even know what it says at this point, but it definitely is like, hey, Steve, when you boot this up, make sure you go to this town and you're trying to talk to the devil, and then make sure you take the left path, and the goal is to, recover the blood well.
I like that.
So now I'll never get to use that note because I'll probably just buy the remaster.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably going to buy the remaster and play it that way too.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, why do it the other way? Why dig out the PS2? I mean, mine's not really buried or anything, but why get out the PS2 and boot it up and play the old crusty version when you have the new shiny version?
True.
But that's all I remember from like the Nintendo ones, but I didn't really like pay attention to them too closely.
Nintendo, I never
There's
like.
Pokemon Snap.
Yeah, that's like the big one. Did they have one that was just like, this is our big one?
No, it was just a couple mini directs, I think.
Okay.
There wasn't any big main direct, as far as I'm aware.
All right. That's what I thought, but I wasn't sure. They didn't do like a big showcase or anything. So, do we want to keep talking about Nintendo? Does anyone else have Nintendo stuff? Steve?
Steve is
Steve?
Steve's absent at the moment.
What happened?
Hey guys, Last of Us 2 isn't actually that good. Oh, thanks, Steve.
Um, yeah, I don't think there's anything else that I've seen recently that's planned for Switch or whatever that's new and shiny or anything.
Did they release any more details on like Breath of the Wild 2 or anything yet? Or is
Not that I
still...
saw. No, I probably would have seen something about that. Um, no new news on a new Fire Emblem or anything either. But we're still not that far since Three Houses came out. So
Yeah.
So here I have kind of a list of the games that the PS5 showcase thing had. So if you want to like talk about any of these in particular,
Oh, one.
yeah, there's one very important one. But there was Project Athia, and this was like the start in my head of like 2020 is the year of druidic girls in cloaks.
I'm here for it.
Yeah, it's fine. It's just this is it. Like
Play that theme out. 'cause
2018
love
was
it.
Muso games, and this one's all about women in cloaks.
That game looked cool. I guess,
Yeah.
is it? It feels weird to call it a game when it's just Project Athia. Like it will be a game, but we know so little about it.
Yeah, the issue I had more with Xbox than PS5 is there wasn't a lot of gameplay to be shown during these. It was just like trailers, like, "Hey guys, this is
Yeah.
the kind of thing we want for our consoles."
yeah, I missed. I don't know if I watched all or any of the PS5 stuff. I think I gleaned through like the release information, but all I know is I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get a PS5 close to launch, but mostly because they're backwards compatible right away, right? With PS4 at least.
Are they?
I mean, have they confirmed that?
Well, they've confirmed that it's backwards compatible, but they haven't confirmed exactly how.
What the range or how?
It
Gotcha.
sounds like it might be select titles. At first, they came out and it sounded like it would be select titles, and then now they've doubled back and it sounds like it will be most PS4 titles, but they're kind of like hedging their bets. Like we can't promise that they'll all work.
So basically, like the fat PS3.
Yeah,
Because I ran into a few games on PS2 and PS1 games on the fat that would just not load or not work.
I think so, but the Fat PS3 I know had like a chip to emulate PS2 in it, and
Right.
this I don't think does. So who knows? Some form of backwards compatibility, but I think in general they're kind of Sony's taking the stance this gen of you're going to move to the PS5,
Yeah.
and you're going to be happy to play PS5 games.
Well, I think that with the PS3, the PS2 had like a weird chipset, so it kind of needed
Had
the
to do
physical
that.
chip.
Couldn't do software emulation as easily.
I would say my biggest gripe with PS5 is how much they're not going to be backwards compatible, because they have gone out there and said, like, yes, the new gen is what you should be worried about. Stop thinking about all that stuff in the past. Like, we're here for the new games.
I would normally like be in the like I need it to be backwards compatible, but at the same time, like after a year, you're not going to give two shits.
It's
about
true.
it. Like, because you'll still have your old hardware. It'll
Yeah.
still be there
Yeah.
for a lot of people. Some people won't. Some people will like sell it off to get the new one. And
I mean, that's
sucks
what I
for
did with
them.
my GameCube, but we played GameCube just fine, so I didn't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
I would like to see just generally like system should at least be like one gen back.
Yeah.
Makes
I
it
could forgive,
easier
like, any of
to
it.
justify purchasing it, so it's easier to transition. Be like, okay, I still have this backlog of PS4 games I want to finish, and now I can just slap them in my PS5. I don't have to plug in my PS4 or switch to my PS4 input or whatever to be able to play those. I can just put them in the PS5 and have one console.
Yeah, and like one of the things that Xbox they like announced, but I don't know if they'll actually carry through on was like it's not for like older games, but like newer games that are published. They like kind of wanted to push where like if you buy it for like the Xbox Series X, where you could still play it on your older systems, like that license is good for whatever you have, like PC, Xbox, whatever. But I don't know how well they'll actually be able to like enforce that with like third party publishers.
Yeah.
But that's it's a cool idea. Makes it more accessible for a lot of people.
Yeah.
All right, up next, I have written down here Bug Snacks.
Okay, I wish I had it pulled up. The one, feel free to talk about how good the song is while I find this.
Dude, it was so good. I actually was showing Dana the PS5 stuff, and she was just like sing along to the Bug Snacks theme, and I'm like, yes.
I do remember watching it because I messaged you about it, and you're like, watch out for Bug Snacks.
Yeah, watch out for Bug Snacks.
Like, I did watch through it, and like Abe's
something or other.
Abe's something or other. Another one of those games.
I don't know what the game is. I don't know what kind of genre it is.
Bug Snacks?
Yeah. But apparently you're eating these animals made out of foods. So like these little strawberries run around, and then there's like this sub sandwich that's cut up, and it's kind of like a centipede type deal or what have you. There's hamburger crabs and stuff like that, and when you eat them, your body parts change into the food that they are. I don't know how that helps you reach a goal. I don't know what goal you're reaching by doing that.
So neither do I, and I was also like, this seems like a cute game that I'll enjoy. And then on Twitter, one of the developers for Bug Snacks tweeted, here are a few of my personal inspirations that have gone into the development for Bug Snacks. And the 4 games he listed, Viva Pinata, Ape Escape, Dark Cloud, and Pokemon Snap.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, hold up. So, and when I first saw the previews, it looked, Viva Pinata was probably like the thing I thought the most of, even though they didn't show any gameplay. It's just, you can imagine a Viva Pinata style game with food bugs.
Yeah.
But those 4 games, even if it's only little bits and pieces from those, I would play a mesh of those 4 games.
Yeah, you can like see the inner, like the working gears that all make Bug Snacks.
Yep, and that has me more excited.
Yeah. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart
with a girl.
That was the game I think I was most excited to see.
Yeah.
For PS5.
I haven't played a single Ratchet and Clank game.
You should.
This one is good.
Yeah, it's really fun.
I've heard great things, but I don't know, have not. 3D platformers are kind of whatever to me. Like, they're fun to play, but I also like.
Yes.
I have a harder time buying them when I'm like, I could be playing a JRPG instead.
3D platformers are one of my favorite genres.
That's fine.
They're the
JRPGs
best.
are one of my favorites.
All right.
I don't see you playing any.
That's because I'm playing the 3D platformers.
Well, there
I
you
love
go.
JRPGs too, though. So, but yes, this is one of my more anticipated games from the show. It's going to be a good demonstration of like the tech, the way that you like hop between those rifts, and you basically like looks like you can like portal shoot and pull yourself into another section of the level.
The gameplay did look pretty fun from what I watched. Like, I specifically commented on it to Noah. I'm like, oh, the portal pulling thing looks pretty neat.
Really pretty. A lot of like colorful sparkle effects shooting off everywhere.
Yeah.
We can do lens flare really good now. So
Yeah, we've gotten very good at it. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited for all the platformers that they announced.
Yeah.
And the only thing that is a bummer about Ratchet and Clank is this is the first one that abandoned the names are like lewd puns.
You never know. Like, they might do the thing that Bravely Default did, where at the end it like does something else. You know, like it pulls the words apart and has actual
the story twist that reveals that it is actually a dirty pun.
It's like
Up your
rip a
arsenal,
fart.
Going Commando, The Quest for Booty. These are solid subtitles. All right.
The next game I see is Stray, which is a robot or a cat in a robot world. Like you're.
Oh yeah,
Obviously
that's the
adorable.
I saw that at PAX.
Yeah.
The gameplay for that. A couple years ago now.
Oh, wow.
So very early at that point, but it looked pretty neat. So seeing it here was kind of shocking. Like, oh wow, that's been hanging around for a while, but
It's
here it is.
becoming a thing.
Yeah.
Not much to say on it, I guess. Like,
I mean, you're a cat.
There was no gameplay. It's
Yeah.
just obviously the concept of playing as a cat in a game is wonderful, and we want to do it.
Yeah.
But show me more on that one.
Yeah, it looked. I mean, from what I recall at the PAX panel or whatever it was that I saw it at, it was like kind of just like a world exploration thing. Like you're a cat
Hmm.
trying to get from point A to point B, but you kind of like do
You do
stuff
cat
along-
stuff in
you do
order to
cat
get
stuff.
farther.
Yeah.
I'm down for that.
Next up we have Returnal. It looks like a space Groundhog Day type deal.
Is that the one with like the woman that keeps going to that planet?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was like, I don't know.
cool idea,
yeah.
but I guess I need to see more about that one. Not one of my more exciting games.
It's another one of those games where they just showed kind of a trailer and you're kind of left going, all right, like,
Yeah.
show me
Yeah,
what
seemed like
it actually
there's
is.
a lot of that going on
Yeah.
for that.
Destruction All Stars. This is the game that's kind of like Twisted Metal
I'll say
meets
the
Rocket
Twisted
League
Metal
type
game.
deal.
Yeah.
It's kind of like cars crashing an arena with people running around. I think it looks fun.
I mean, it's been
I
a
could
while
see
since
my
one
play.
of those games has like been a thing. Like Vigilante 8, Twisted Metal. Like I've not seen those in a while.
Isn't there
Yeah.
somebody coming out with one very soon? Like maybe a new Twisted Metal or something?
Maybe.
Or like a remake? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't even really remember that game, to be honest. So that seems like something that the people that are into that will be happy for.
Yeah.
They were fun games as a, when I played them as a kid.
So this next one, I have a little thing next to it. It says Kena, 3D platformer video game ass game.
That is probably the game that I am most excited for from
Oh, really?
the PlayStation Showcase. It reminds me of Cameo almost, but like with Pikmin. I don't know. It looked really pretty. It's the Druid Girl thing that you were talking about, and it looks like it's gonna be a 3D platformer. Like it just seems like exactly the type of game I want and would be a perfect launch game.
Like when I looked at it, when I watched like the trailer, I'm like, oh, the trailer looks really cool. And then I saw like a little bit of the gameplay, and I'm like, that looks fine.
It looks so fun.
Like if like I don't know when it's coming out. If they work on it a little bit to make it look a little more fluid to me, I'll probably.
Was
like
that the
it.
Annapurna game or is it a different one?
Not an Annapurna game. I don't
No?
think.
There was one in that showcase. I just don't
I'm trying to
remember
remember
what it was.
what one it was.
And then I have NBA 2K21, I guess. That's
I
basketball.
Sweat.
I expect it to be the same as these other ones.
You're the show's resident NBA.
That's a weird title to have.
So you'll have to let me know how it is.
It's probably fine. I mean,
Probably
Whatever, it's
probably just
basketball.
Dunk people's.
Dunk on kids, literally.
next I have Solar Ash.
One of my
Is-
other most anticipated.
Is this
ones.
made by the Journey people?
No, this is made by the Hyperlight Drifter people.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
But it looked like Journey. It was someone who was in like sandy environments, but more like Mars. Than like desert. But they were like skating.
Yeah,
Or,
it
like,
looked like traversal was like a very important thing in that game.
Yeah, it was like Journey meets, I don't know, Jet Set Radio meets Hyperlight Drifter. It seemed really artsy and fun. I like the art direction on it. I haven't played Hyperlight Drifter yet, but it seemed good.
Next up is the Demon Souls remake.
Heck
That-
yeah!
I was not expecting that whatsoever.
No.
It had been rumored so heavily up to that point, at least on like.
Yeah, people
Twitter
talk
and
about
stuff,
that kind of
so-
stuff all the time.
So
And
I guess it
never
took some
put
of the
any
punch,
merit in
but
those.
it's gonna be awesome. I'm
Yeah.
very excited.
I never
Restart it now.
I never beat it, to be honest. The original.
Demon Souls.
Yeah.
Oh my
I've started it like 4 times, and every time I get to about the same spot, and I just give up. I don't know why. I think it's just because it's clunky compared to like the Dark Souls controls and stuff. And some of the way some of the mechanics worked in that one versus the Dark Souls game. So I'll probably get. Yeah, exactly. That's true. So I'll probably get it, obviously, and then maybe finally beat it.
I'm very excited. I love Demon Souls.
All right. Next up we have Village or Resident Evil 8.
Wasn't a great trailer.
No,
It
not
was
good.
kind of like hitchy and like in
Yeah.
spots looked kind of
Frames per second.
Yeah,
Mhm.
if you're gonna be
Frames per
like
second.
technical nitpicky boy, but the idea of like Resident Evil meets werewolves is very
Yes.
exciting, and 7 is insanely good. I still need to finish it in VR.
I was showing Dana this, and she's like, "Where are all the zombies?" And I'm like, "I think they're kind of shying away from zombies on this one." She goes, "What?" And then I'm like, "Yeah, I think they're going werewolves." And she's like, "I love werewolves."
I mean, even the last like 2 Resident Evils haven't necessarily been zombies. They've
Yeah.
been like weird mutant things that take over bodies, right?
Yeah.
It's not just the classic zombies like Resident Evil 1 through 3, I guess. Even 4 wasn't zombies really.
Is there a word for that yet? Like
Parasite?
non-bees or something? Like
Non-bees.
when a game is trying really hard not to say zombie, but they're zombies. Like Last of Us, they're like, these are the infected. Is cordyceps, and they're like, that's a zombie. I know a zombie when I see one.
Why are we avoiding zombies so hard? Why are we
Because
calling
I think
them
it's because they were
zombies?
way overdone.
They were so played out for a
Yeah,
while.
but it's no different. I'm not stupid. I know infected are
it's
zombies.
a fresh coat of paint.
I think
so
they
it
think
makes
some of
it
us are stupid.
Enjoy it a little better, yeah.
The next Black Ops game will have like it'll not be zombies, but it'll be,
Mhm.
be zombies.
It'll be robots. So it'll just be killing robots instead of zombies.
Just like
They
when,
act the same, but they're just robots.
like when Call of Duty went back to World War II in like 2032, they're gonna go back to zombies, and it's gonna feel like nostalgic for us. Like, oh, a Resident Evil game with zombies. This is so cool.
Yeah. Well, and like they've remade the the original 1, 2, 3, or 1 and 2 at this point, just 1 and 2.
3,
Did they
3
do
also. 4's got to come up soon. They need to do Code Veronica, so they need to. Do
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they had zombies because they were just the remake. Mr. X, Nemesis.
The next game I really dug their like trailer style, and this one is Deathloop, which looks like a run-based FPS, like kind of. I want to say roguelike, but I don't know if it actually is or not.
My greatest hope for Deathloop is that it has an element of like competitive, where 2 players could each control one of the 2 bounty hunters and like try to stop each other's progress in the run. That could be super fun.
Oh, kind of like Left 4 Dead.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, but like a one-on-one Left 4
Yeah,
Dead, basically.
right.
I think that could be really cool. But that game looks good.
It does. I really dig like the 1970s type deal it's
Mhm.
got going on for it. Next up is one I'm surprisingly excited for. Little Devil Inside.
It seemed cool.
Yeah, it seems kind of like a Zelda type deal, right?
Yeah.
Little dude with a sword out there running around, hacking and slashing.
I'm for it.
Yeah, there's not a lot to talk about. It kind of has the art style of maybe Dauntless, where it's not super detailed and kind of like more poly, but
Mhm.
still looking good. But yeah, there's that one. And then the best looking game of the PS5 one was Horizon Forbidden West.
Whew.
Yeah,
It reminded me I need to play Horizon again.
I still need
Or I
to
need
finish,
to finish it. I should. So like that's where I'm kind of stuck. I'm like I'm finished Xenoblade. What the heck do I start next?
Horizon Zero Dawn.
Is
That game was so
it
good.
Horizon Zero Dawn? Well, like I have the launch, like from launch, right? I have that game with the Aloy statue and everything, right? But that doesn't have all the DLC. So I'm like, do I just buy the Game of the Year edition now with all the DLC and everything?
Yeah, I never did play the DLC either.
And so there's that, but I know it's kind of a long game, right? Like 60, 70 hours.
maybe.
Probably depends on how much you do in it, right? Because there's definitely a lot of exploration to do.
You could probably platinum it in that amount of time too.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so there wasn't a lot of super tedious.
no, like all the collectibles and stuff are like marked on the map. So like
Oh, well, okay, that's...
there's only like one thing that you'll have to look up
Yeah.
if you can't find it. It's like the stuff to get the best armor in the game.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe. I don't know. Because, like, Trails in the Sky has been on my list forever, and I'm like finally getting ready to. I should play these games because Trails of Cold Steel 4 is coming out, and that has the main characters from Trails in the Sky. Like, it's all the people coming together in Cold Steel 4. So I'm like, I should probably play Trails in the Sky. And each of those games is 40 to 50 hours, and there's 3 of them. So I have until the end of October to beat all 3 of those games. If I start today, maybe I will. I don't know.
Do you have any vacation left?
I mean, my calendar just reset in July. My vacation calendars. That's why I took 2 weeks off, like at the end of June, because I'm like, I got to burn 10 days of vacation time, so here we go.
Use it or lose it?
Yeah, use it or lose it. So I had a couple days roll over, and then now the clock started over again. So I'm like, I might use some in September, but that's because since PAX isn't happening, my PAX squad was talking about just coming here because they're doing PAX online, and then we'll just stream it on my TV. We'll just hang out and do that. I don't know how many of them will decide to make that trip or what. It all kind of depends on how the world is at that point in time. So, and then Yakuza games. Like I got too many games to play.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't the new Yakuza coming out in the fall here?
Yeah, the one with the new guy. I was just looking at that. It's already out in Japan. Yakuza. What was it called?
Like a Dragon.
Yeah, that's it. Like a Dragon. Mm-hmm.
Be excited with the PS5 at launch.
I'm 100% there day one.
Yeah, I like the PS4, that like whole generation. I didn't have any of it right away because like my money situations at the time. It's like now it'd be nice to like jump on board with everybody.
Well, hopefully it doesn't. For me, the PS4 was okay. I got a day one. All right, I got nothing to play for 2 months. Yeah, or some. It was a really long time before I had a game to play on it. That wasn't just like one of the dopey like, here's a indie like game to play. Like, not that there's anything bad with indie games, but they weren't great indie games. So, but this time around, the launch selection seems to be better, at least for PS5. So, a bit more excited about that.
I'm probably gonna rebuy because I haven't played it since it first came out. I'm probably gonna buy the like PS5 version of Grand Theft Auto.
Oh.
So, I've been wanting to replay it, and that seems like if there's not a lot out on the system at the time,
That's the
that
time
might
to
be a
do
good
it.
one to like kill some time
Yeah.
with.
For sure. Oh, this time around, at least I have a pile of games to work that I'm still working on, so I'll have something to do even if there's nothing to play on the PS5 right away.
All right, Steve, do you have a list of Xbox show stuff?
I do. Before we do that, though, just like a temperature check, we kind of mentioned it. Is everybody pretty on board for PS5 around launch?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Seems like, not to give it away before we go through Xbox, but at least to me, I'm more excited for the PS5 than the Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Day one. Long term, I will have them both. I know I will, but
I won't. I've never bought an Xbox in my life.
you're missing out on a lot of good experiences.
Have I though?
No, you're good.
I don't think I have.
The
Everything
360 was where it's at. I'm telling you.
everything that I've wanted to play was on both systems, except for Vesperia, which I knew had a PS3 release, so it was only a matter of time before I got a chance to play it. And what do you know?
You missed out on the Halo 3 multiplayer hype? Come on.
Yeah, I don't care about Halo.
Modern Warfare? All
Don't
those.
care.
I sound so basic as I'm describing
I was
games
gonna
I'm
say.
nostalgic for on Xbox. Like most of what I
don't
play
care
is
about any
like
of these
stupid
games.
indie stuff. But when I look back, I'm like, oh, Gears of War and Halo. And
Those
Call of
require
Duty.
generally having a friend circle that plays all of those games, and none of my friend circle did or
Well,
does.
maybe you should have been friends with me a decade and a half ago.
Yeah, right. Then you might have been able to buy my Earthbound.
Yeah, ripperoni pepperoni.
Like fell asleep. It fell real asleep.
All right, well, let's perk that leg up by talking about the Xbox Games Showcase.
Oh, it's perked.
So I didn't watch all the pre-show, and I didn't write down everything that's in the pre-show, but there's one game that was in the pre-show that is important to mention, Balan Wonderworld.
I did not see this.
Did anybody see this? 3D platformer. So I'm sticking with the theme of our episode today. It's developed by Yuji Naka, who, if anybody doesn't know, is the
Sonic dude, right?
Sonic dude,
Sega.
Nights into Dreams, Sonic Adventure, Burning Rangers.
Oh, is this the Nights into Dreams looking game?
Yeah, so this looks a lot like a spiritual successor to Nights into Dreams.
Okay.
But he left Sega, he joined Square Enix, and now he's making this 3D platformer. It's super colorful. It's got kind of like a stage show theme, so everybody's in like dress up top hats and stuff like that. Yeah, it just like looks very colorful, very cheerful, and it was my game of the show, even though it was in the pre-show, just because it looks like.
A lot of the
This
other
one
stuff
looks
they
like
have is
Ape
kinda
Escape.
generic.
This one just looks like Ape Escape.
You watching the trailer for it?
No, I'm just looking at screenshots. It just kind of gives off that kind of vibe.
It seems to have a mechanic where you get like different suits that have different powers as you go through the levels. So
Like Mega Man
yeah,
or Mario.
yep. And so yeah, everyone should get excited for Balan Wonderworld. That's like the Xbox game I care the most about. But then in the actual games showcase, the first game that they showed was Halo Infinite, gameplay for Halo Infinite, which to me looked like more good Halo. I don't know. Halo's fine. I like Halo single player. I never played Halo 5, and I'm not like a diehard since Halo 3 was the last game that I really got hyped about. But all right, looks fine.
Did they show more at the end of Halo?
I don't think so.
No.
I thought it was just
They
a
led the
mix of
show with it.
screenshots from the thing they already showed.
Okay, so like the obvious internet thing is like the game looks like garbage, right? That's the obvious
Yeah.
thing. I found like watching that whole thing, I felt very disconnected, and it didn't feel like Halo had any of the tension it usually has by doing a mission based thing. And I also noticed there wasn't a lot of music.
It was light on music, and I don't know if that was a stylistic choice or just like they don't have final recordings for all the music or what.
It really felt like it was missing.
I mean, it could just be a COVID thing.
True.
Yeah.
Well, and Halo has always been the type of game where the music sort of swells during key moments and then fades away. So maybe they just, leaned into the fade knob a little too much during that demo. But
It just felt like a lot of that gameplay could have used music or something to make me feel like, yeah, he's doing a cool Halo thing.
Like, not just footsteps and gunshots.
Yeah.
see, and this is what's really hard. Is earlier we were mentioning most of the trailers seemed like they weren't showing gameplay. It was just like a cinematic trailer. But then here, I mean, it literally was a gameplay demo.
Yes.
And then you're like, well, they really could have spruced that up a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's kind of hard to win if you're a developer, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. But, I mean, Halo Infinite seems fine. If you own an Xbox, you'll own it. I don't know. I feel bad I'm not a bigger Halo fan.
It'll come out on PC or whatever too, right?
More
Yeah.
than likely. Yeah.
And
that's the thing, like, my take on a lot of the Xbox stuff is, like,
I'll just get it on PC.
it'll get on PC eventually, more than likely.
Well, and the big takeaway for all these, that's probably worth just mentioning at the top, is they were very keen on making sure that people were aware that all of these games will come to Game Pass. So if you pay for the Game Pass subscription, it'll be free. Well, not free, but it'll be included in the subscription and you'll be able to play them all.
So like the big thing, and I've had people on Twitter talk about like, you can't say Xbox One E3 this year, and you can't say PS4 or PS5 One E3 this year or whatever. And it's like true because both companies are taking, for the first time in a long time, like different routes toward their monetization. Where Xbox obviously wants their services and wants to get you subscribed to all their stuff for money, and PS5 is like, we're gonna make games like this for this generation. We're not gonna have a Game Pass. We're sorry, but like you'll buy it. You'll pay the money.
The way I described it elsewhere was Xbox is kind of like scooping all of you up in their arms, and they're like, hey, those old games you have, they're going to work. You can play all these games on Game Pass. Even these new games, you can play them on the Xbox One X. That's fine. However you want to play our games, it's fine. Everybody's welcome in. Everyone's included.
Mm-hmm.
And Sony is like, bitch, you're going to buy a PS5
Yep.
and you're going to like it. Get
We
ready
got
to
the
play our
real
games.
new stuff.
And so it's like different. I mean, with that methodology, Sony ends up probably having, really focused high production exclusives, and Xbox becomes like a more accommodating ecosystem. I think it means PlayStation will probably sort of like capture hearts and minds early, but Xbox might swell and overtake them by the end of the generation.
And it's like there may not be a winner at all. Both of these might just be extremely lucrative for them, and they both have their own way of life.
Yeah,
and Nintendo has its like hybrid
Yep.
handheld thing now. Like we might really get to the point where all three major players have just like carved out their own way to be successful, which is pretty cool.
Well, it sounds like Microsoft might be like the place where like you might find the next like Fortnite, which will be a big cash cow for them.
Yeah, and as soon as one of those games hits that gets a bunch of people to subscribe to their service, like
then they're good.
They're off and
they're
running,
set.
right? So their model is probably more viable to make them more money, but
it seems more in line with like the way the future of everything is going.
Yeah,
like subscribing to service or whatever.
Mm-hmm. And it is an insane value if you don't care about like owning your games physically. For $10 a month, just having this like huge pool of first party and a lot of third party and indie games.
But
to
do
play,
they rotate out and leave?
They do.
So then you wouldn't be able. You'd have to end up buying them anyway.
True, but I mean, if like Gear 6 comes out day and date on Game Pass and then eventually rotates out a year later, you can buy it for $5.
I mean, I see the merit of.
But yeah,
I see the merit.
I know.
I'm just being throwing it out there. And what if then their physical production is low because all the games are on Game Pass, and then you want to buy that game and it's $500.
True, and I mean, we'll get back to the
they
games here in the showcase in a sec, but
they made 20 copies. But yeah.
But I mean, PS5 has its digital model with no disc drive. Mm-hmm. Xbox is pushing services. I know that this is sort of the looming threat forever, but this is definitely the generation where the disc dies, right? Like, very realistic that there won't be physical. That any physical games will be boutique-y after this generation. They'll be like modern vinyl being pressed. But
I've always wanted them to like do the thing where they like give you the digital only code with your disc.
Yeah,
like I want the disc.
How like literally every movie does.
Yeah, like I want the disc, but I also want to be able to just load the game up without going to my shelf.
Yeah,
that's so. And I wonder if that they don't do that because games are 3 to 4 times more expensive than DVDs or Blu-rays. So like,
I would pay $5 extra to get the code.
All right.
Like,
yeah, if they want to upcharge the game price from $60 to $70, so I get that code and don't have to ever worry about like plugging the game in again. Like Smash Bros. I bought the physical version, and when I got it in hand, I'm like, I should have just bought the digital version because I'm never gonna take this out, or I'm never gonna want to swap it out or whatever. If that makes sense. But it was too late. I already had the physical version, so I'm like, well, whatever. But having that code would have been nice because I'm like, I can just download the copy of the game. So, and I definitely get what you're saying.
I like the process of going to my shelf and like pulling a game off, but I am aware that I am the exception and not the rule for most people. Most people favor the convenience.
Yeah, we're a minority.
So true.
For the Switch, I feel like it hits even harder. Like,
definitely.
It's mobile, so you might not have your game with you at the time.
Yeah, and I don't want to carry like 20 games in a little pouch that's
I've got
tied to my belt loop.
the Zelda
True.
The case that has slots for like 30 games or however many.
True.
So, and then plus the one that's in your Switch.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely I've bought a couple games on Switch digitally, like Xenoblade I bought digitally. And there's a couple others that I don't care about having the physical copy of just because it's more convenient again. Like,
for sure.
All right, get through these games. We're getting pretty deep into this podcast.
If you're still here and listening to this podcast, thank you for listening this long.
I agree.
And I'm sorry that Noah is trying to rush you out the door.
I'm not rushing you out the door. I'm rushing you out the door.
This will go pretty quick, I think, based on what I know about my friends. The new Forza game.
Everyone just shrugged.
Cars continue to look pretty.
Yeah, that's about it.
They go fast.
I don't know if I own any Forza games. I'm happy for car people.
Yeah.
Everwild. This is a game I'm excited for. This is in the theme of druidy looking people in the pretty forest with like constellation deer and stuff. And this is the game being developed by Rare, which is exciting.
Yeah.
Okay,
But
I've
they
never
s-
seen the trailer for that one.
They still haven't shown, as far as I know, any like gameplay. Like I don't know how it plays. I know it looks pretty and it's developed by
pretty deer,
Rare.
though. Yeah.
And so I know enough for me to buy it, but I would like to know what kind of game I'm buying.
Yeah.
So, State of Decay 3.
Okay.
This is where you edit
I'm
the
smiling.
cricket sound. I mean, I have I don't even know how those games play.
I don't either. I have no idea.
Yeah.
No, nothing. A game that looked really cool, but we saw very little about, Avowed. Which
Yes.
this is the one that the trailer was like the flaming arrow going through the sky, and then the gameplay looked like an Elder Scrolls game. Basically, it looked like Skyrim.
Kind of, yeah.
I
Could
guess
be good, could be bad. We'll have to see.
according to the site I looked up, this is apparently takes place in the Pillars of Eternity world.
Interesting.
Like it's an action RPG in the style of an Elder Scrolls in Pillars of Eternity, whatever. So
Okay.
that game looked pretty fun. I for what little we saw, it looked cool. Outer Worlds is getting some DLC. Forget the name of it.
Something on Gorgon.
Yeah,
it's another planet, I think. Right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, that game's biggest criticism was that it was a little bit slight. So, as long as it's well made, that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to more Outer Worlds. I don't know if I'll grab it right away or not, but that's cool. There's a new game by Don't Nod, the Life is Strange people. It's called Tell Me Why.
Its Life is Strange.
It's Life is Strange. The core mechanic seems to be around like supernatural events happening at like the peak of emotional moments in people's
Yeah.
lives. So if you like Life is Strange, I imagine that'll be good. That's one that I'll keep my eye on. But I doubt that is Xbox exclusive.
Probably not.
Don't Nod
probably
isn't
not.
owned by Microsoft. That's not one of the studios they bought from Microsoft Game Studios, is it?
I don't think so, but I really couldn't tell you.
I don't think so either. A game that was just like visually striking that I don't know much about, As Dusk Falls. So this is the one that was like a Western setting, and it was all like still images. Like there wasn't animation. It'd be like just a picture of someone standing at a door, and then like a picture of them standing in the living room. So it had the feel of like a Telltale or like a Life is Strange, but animated, no animations. So it seemed fun. Tetris Effect multiplayer mode.
That is really cool, and if you listen to any of the past podcasts, this is the thing I wanted for Tetris Effect. And it, from what I understand, it won't come to PS4 or VR for like a year or something.
Yeah, it's probably an exclusive,
It's exclusive
which is
for
a
like a
bummer because I don't really plan on playing Tetris Effect outside of VR. So.
Yeah.
But when it does come, yay!
Yeah. The thing I wanted, they're doing it. I'm excited.
they're doing the thing.
They announced that Destiny 2 and its expansions are going to be on Game Pass. So again, just
Ooh.
boosting this
All right.
quality of that service. A game that I actually thought looked pretty cool. This seems like the perfect kind of game to be a launch title. Was The Medium. This is that woman who was going through some sort of like facility, and the gameplay was split in half down the screen.
Oh
And
yeah,
half of it was like
that one looks pretty cool.
yeah,
I
like
that.
derelict hospital. Half of it was like demon world. Doom
Yeah, she
type
was
stuff.
like in two realities at the same time.
Yeah, and it looks like you got to play both at once.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. Maybe I'm just jaded from years of games. It will probably be kind of a janky game, but
It'll probably be janky,
but as a launch title, that'd be super fun.
I like the concept where it's kind of like that Twin Worlds thing where you do thing in the normal world and it changes the thing in the other world.
Yep.
And you kind of have to go back and forth.
And there's been so many games that do that, but the idea of the hardware being strong enough for us to now just be in both worlds at the same time,
Yeah.
that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I don't even remember this trailer. Stalker 2?
Some people are hyped for that game. Like, people have been talking about it because, I mean, I have Stalker 1, but I have not played very much of it because it's very crusty.
Hmm.
It's pretty old. But, like, my friend Tony really likes it, if I remember right.
Okay.
But it's like an old, first person, like think, like Metro.
Hmm.
Like those games, similar to that, where you're in, like, Fallout, nuclear Fallout Russia or whatever, and
That I think is in keeping with the trailer. It's
Yeah.
like little bits are coming back to me now. So okay. maybe one to keep an eye on. The other shooter that was there was Warhammer 40k Darktide.
I saw that trailer start. I'm like, this is a Warhammer game. I'm like, yep, it was.
So I've never played a Warhammer game. I know that some of the more recent ones have actually gotten
They've
some
all
good
been
buzz.
very, very mediocre.
Oh, really?
Or bad.
I thought some of the newer ones people really liked, but maybe
No,
Warhammer
there's
fans
like the
really liked it.
Diablo style action one that we played because I bought it for like cheap on a sale.
I'm glad that like you were like, you want to keep playing this, and I was like, I don't really like this game. And you're like, I don't like this game much either.
Yeah. It was really janky. Like I could see how the world would make it cool, but like there was no voice acting when there should have been voice acting, and there was voice acting when there didn't need to be voice acting, and like the going on the mission part was weird, and like I don't know. It had a lot of like jank to it, and it just wasn't very good.
How
Like,
long did you play it?
Space Marine was like the only okay one that came out recently, from what I understand.
Did you get far? How many hours did you play before you mutually decided to stop?
2?
Like 2 or 3 hours. Like we went on like 10 missions or something like that.
We
and,
tried to go on missions for a while too.
Well,
It was hard
at least
to-
you mutually decided.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was little stuff like the text would start talking, right? Like the characters would be talking while you're running around killing dudes on the screen. But they wouldn't be voice acted, so you would have had to sit there and read it, but also there was no text background. So it was just like blending in with the environment, and it was impossible to read.
Okay.
So it was rough.
And like the co-op, I couldn't like be my own co-op character. I had to be like a stand-in character
Yeah.
with no progression or anything.
Oh.
Yeah.
Any kind of loot-based game where you can't play your character, getting the loot for your character is instantly just like... yeah.
Right.
There's a game called The Gunk, which seemed like a dungeon crawler with like a goopy, the ooze, the blob sort of
Yeah.
thing.
The stuff.
Yeah, could be cool. And then the showcase closed with like a teaser trailer for a new Fable game.
Yeah, and we don't know if that's like a remaster of Fable 1 or if it's brand new, right?
It's the new Match 3 Fable game.
That's what they said.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
I think the general consensus, and I don't know if this is verified or not, seems to be that it's a new game. But even if it's a new game, is it going to be like new but borrowing a lot from the design of the first one? I'm not sure. But
That's the only game I was like actually kind of excited for because I really liked the first Fable game, and I never played 3, which was on PC, because 2 never came to PC for like the longest time, and eventually it did, and then I bought it, and they're both in my Steam library and just like sitting there.
I like the first Fable, and I like the second Fable. I never played the third. It's cool. It's not a series that is very personal to me, so I didn't get really excited. And that it was such like a nothing teaser trailer.
Yeah, it was just like, oh look, there's a fairy and it gets eaten by a toad.
Yep, and that was it. And okay.
Although to be fair, like when the trailer started and the guy was narrating and stuff, I'm like, this is a Fable game. And then the fairy got eaten by the toad. I'm like, oh yeah, it's a Fable game.
And I'm remembering now one game that was in the showcase that must have just not been on the site I looked up was Grounded.
Oh yeah.
Did you guys see that? It's like
It actually came out a couple days ago or whatever.
Yeah, it's like action co-op. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, basically. Seems fun.
Yeah, that game. Mm-hmm.
So
that's made by.
I think it's Obsidian, right?
I think it is Obsidian,
Yeah.
and it was a funny trailer. I'll give them that.
We're going to a place we've never developed before, or something like that.
Well, I really enjoyed at the start of the trailer when they said like, "If you're ready for the next big game this fall, buy Cyberpunk. But if you don't want Cyberpunk,
Yeah.
here's Grounded."
I like that.
They're also like made by people who've never made a game like this before.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
That was funny. So good on them.
Good humor hooks to get you pulled in.
So yeah, that was the Xbox Game Showcase. I think, cool games for a certain type of person. I just don't think that person is one of the 4 people sitting at this table.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah. It's that other guy that doesn't go with us anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember everyone was talking about it in the Discord, and I just sat on the front steps and I just watched it, and I'm like, I don't really care for a lot of this stuff. Like, a lot of it doesn't give me any information on what the games actually are going to be, and I want to know what they are. I don't want to just see cutscenes.
Yeah, and they had more, like shooters, sort of like double or triple A type games. And PlayStation, as they often do, focused more on indies and showcasing like quirkier, weirder games.
I was gonna say
and that's
Xbox
just more
has
of my
been more
taste.
of like a first-person shooter kind of like pandering console.
Yeah, so excited for both. I will be there day one for PS5 for sure.
Yeah, I'll probably get
gonna-
day one PS5 too.
Probably gonna drop a decent chunk of change getting that and a couple launch games because I'm pumped.
That's true.
Anything else, Noah?
I think that does it for everything I kind of wanted to talk about. Do we want a topic for next week?
It'll be a miracle if we record again in 2
Or
weeks.
not
I'll be
next
so
week,
happy.
but yeah, next time.
Yeah.
I think it'll happen. I don't see it not happening.
Assuming your computer doesn't explode.
Yeah, I'm just going to pray that it's just fixed forever now, and I can't unfix it.
I will say I would like to, because I was thinking today, I was prompted in a stream I was watching, but thinking about what my game of the year will be for this year and realizing that I don't have a very full 2020 list.
Yeah, mine isn't that full either.
So it might be nice to look forward, like what is coming out the rest of this year that we're interested in, and like build some hype for the stuff that we might consider when game of the year time comes around.
I think you already know my answer. Well, you do know my answer.
I
told you
do,
my
but
answers, I'm not
don't
going to
spoil
talk
it.
about it. I'm not going to spoil it.
No spoilers.
There's always a chance that something else might just pop up out of nowhere that just takes over.
Yep. And I can put together a list of like confirmed for 2020, likely for 2020, announced but probably not in 2020. We can do something like that.
That'd be cool.
All right.
We can talk about that. Let's go around and do any, shout outs or whatever. Nick, do you have anybody you want to shout out? Anything?
Nobody.
Okay, Nick has nobody.
Nobody.
Dan.
I also have nobody.
Dan has nobody. Steve.
As I mentioned earlier in the show, go follow me on my Twitch page because I'm streaming 3 days a week. Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, twitch.tv/BLINKOOM.
Sometimes Saturdays.
Sometimes on Saturdays if I feel zesty.
What times do you stream?
All 3 of those days I start at 7 p.m. Central, usually go till about 10. But it's 7 to question mark. It'll at least be a couple hours long. So stop by 7 p.m. Central. Come hang out. Watch me on Twitch.
Cool.
How about you?
I am also at Twitch, twitch.tv/Nornsey. I am trying to make a schedule right now. I'm thinking Monday, Wednesday, questionable weekend day.
You haven't really been here too often on the weekends, so it's going to be hard to stream.
It's been a lot of COVID stuff. I've been spending a lot of time with Dana because she's like half an hour from my job, whereas here it's an hour and a half. So it's not like losing 2 hours of my day.
Yeah.
Don't blame you whatsoever.
Yeah, I kind of want to be here more, but it's just so much easier that way.
Yeah.
But you can see me at twitch.tv/Nornsey. I'm thinking Monday, Wednesday, weekend day. I'm thinking like Mondays would be like for the list, streaming stuff from the list, and like Wednesday would be working on a speed run, and then on the weekend maybe I'd stream with Dana and do something like that. Outside of that, Steve, you have a YouTube thing going on. Where you pick up videos and stuff.
It's also youtube.com. Well, I don't have the Blinkum URL, but if you look up Blinkum on YouTube, you'll find it. Or if you go to my Twitch page, it's linked in the About section of my Twitch page. You can get to my YouTube and my Twitter and everything else. So I would say go to Twitch first, and you can find my other links from there.
All right. So I'll give shout-outs to Dana, the Otaku Brothers,
Yes.
Rusty and Ryan, Young Nostalgia, which is Nolan and who's the other guy?
Oh, don't put me on the spot.
Yeah.
Nolan Apocalypse Angel on Twitter and on Twitch.
Yeah. So Nolan and Jeff.
Yeah.
I'll call him Jeff. Have you listened to Young Nostalgia?
Yeah. Their latest episode was actually pretty interesting.
It was about like TV movie hosts. Yeah.
It's a
So
podcast.
go give those people a listen. They're actually pretty cool too. But
We're
also
not
tell
part of
your
their
friends-
podcast network, but there might as well be a podcast network because
Yeah.
they're cool shows you should check out.
But yeah, I think that's it for us.
Yeah. Thanks for sticking around, not only this long episode, but also when we didn't make an episode for 8 months.
Yeah.
So we will try so hard to be back now.
We're sorry
We
and
really
thank you.
missed you. Thank you.
All right, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.